Hello and thank you for purchasing the Sticky Tab Shopify section by qwiqode. In this video, I'll be showing you how to use it. With this section, you can add a sticky tab to your page and add content inside of it. To get started, let's go to the section settings and we have multiple options. And the first one is the tab toggle image. With this field, you can add an icon or a small image to this part of the tab. So for example, if I add this, we'll see that icon inside of this area. You can also adjust the text. You can add something like this, okay? Then we have the tab content styling, and the first option is the tab position. You can select it to be bottom left, top right, center right, and bottom right. For example, if I select it to be center right, we'll see the tab right here. Or you can also select center left, I will see that tab toggle right here, okay? Next, we have the tab margin top and margin bottom. So with this, you control the outside distance of this tab. For example, if I add this and adjust it, we'll add more space at the top, and we push this down a little bit. And we also have a margin bottom, and this is useful when you have it at the bottom. You can adjust this to adjust that bottom position, okay? Next, we have the same margin settings for mobile. We have the top and bottom margin. And next, we have the initial animation on toggle. So this is enabled by default, okay? So that's why when we load the page, we don't see it, and then after 2 seconds, we see the toggle. For example, if I turn this off, we always see it on load. And if I turn this on, we won't see it first, and then after 2 seconds, we see this animation. Okay, so you can adjust that animation delay and you can select it to be, 5 seconds. So after 5 seconds, you'll see this animation like that. I really like a faster animation, so I'm gonna leave it at 2. Like this. Next, we have the duration of the animation in seconds. So right now it's half a second, but if I increment this, we'll see that the animation takes longer to load. You can adjust this to make it even slower, like this. But I really like a faster animation, so I'm gonna leave it at 0.5. Next, we have the tab content settings, and you have 2 options. You can use it to toggle the content inside the tab like it is. So for example, if I click in here, you'll see that we have more content to show. Okay, so you can use that open toggle area, or you can use link. And when using link, you can add a custom URL in here and it will go straight to that page. Okay, for example, if I link it to all collections, instead of opening the toggle area, it will go to that page. But I really like to show a toggle area, so I'm gonna leave it like this because I want to add content inside of the tab. And then we have an option for opening that link in a new tab. So if you enable this and a user clicks on it, it will open a new tab instead of redirecting from this same page. So I'm gonna leave it disabled, and actually we can ignore it because instead of link, we're using it as a toggle. Next, we have the toggle animation settings. And this is the animation of this opening, okay, in seconds. So you see right now it takes 2 seconds to open and close. So if I make this faster, you'll see this animation takes less time to load, okay? I really like around 2.5 seconds because I really like that smooth effect. So looks good. I'm gonna leave it like this. Next, we have the tab content area styling, and that content area is this one right here, the one that you open when you toggle this. And we have an option to preview the tab on customizer, so that way you don't need to open and close to see the content inside. So for now, while I'm editing the styling, I'm gonna leave it open. And then we have the background color, so maybe we can add something like that. Okay, and next we have the content area width. So right now it's 300 pixels, but you can adjust this to make that area bigger. Next, we have the content area border radius, and with this, you control the corners of this area. By default, it's 0, but you can adjust this to control those corners. Okay, next we have the top, bottom, and horizontal padding. And while the margin is the outside distance, the padding is the inside distance. For example, right now it's 10 pixels, so the content inside of it will be 10 pixels from the border. So if I increment this, you'll see that we're adding more room at the top, and if I do it at the bottom, we'll see that we're adding more room in here. The same with the horizontal padding. If I increment this, we're adding more room in this area. But maybe that's too much, so I'm gonna leave it around 20 for each. Next, we have the same settings for mobile. We have the area width, top, bottom, and horizontal padding. Next, we have the tab toggle area styling, and this is this little toggle, okay? So we have an option for the color, so we can have the same color as this one or a different color. And then we have a background color and hover. So that's when a user puts the cursor on top of it, we can change the color. So maybe we can do something like this, so you can adjust that color. So maybe instead of that one, we can do something like this. Next, we have the tab toggle width. Right now, by default, is 70 pixels, but you can increment this to make this bigger. You also have the border radius, so you can control those corners. right here. Next, we have the tab toggle image dimensions, and by default it's original, but you can select all these other sizes. For example, if I add another image, let's say something like this, you can adjust the dimensions of that image using this field. Okay, so right now it's original, but you can select landscape. You won't see us change because this image is already landscape, but if you select portrait, okay, you'll see that change: square, horizontal, or vertical. Okay, but for now I'm gonna leave it as original, and that works for me. Okay, and actually instead of an image, I'll keep an icon. Okay, next we have the tab toggle image max width, and by default it's 66%, but you can select it to be 100% like this, or have it way smaller like this. But I really like it to be around 75. Okay, next we have the margin bottom, and right now it's 10 pixels, so it's this distance over here, but you can increment this to make more room. Okay, but I'm gonna leave it around 10 pixels. That's fine. Next, we have the tab toggle vertical and horizontal padding, and this is the inside distance. Right now it's 10 pixels, and if we increment this, we'll add more room vertically, and if we increment this, we'll add more room horizontally. But I'm gonna leave it at 10 because I don't need so much padding. Next, we have the same settings for mobile. We have the toggle width, max width of the image, the margin bottom, vertical and horizontal padding. Next, we have the tab toggle text styling, and that's the styling for this text over here. Okay, so you can control the color. Maybe we can do something like this, or a different color. Okay, you can also control the color on hover. So let's say on hover you have a different color, you can adjust it here. And maybe for those colors, we can add a gray like this, and on hover to be white like this. Okay, and next you have the top and bottom margins, so that's the outside distance of the text. And you also have an option for using a custom font. For example, when this is enabled, you can select a custom font from this list, so you can select that, but you also have an option for using a custom font family name. Let's say you're loading a Helvetica on your website, you can add here that font name and it will grab that loaded font. Okay, but on this example I'm gonna leave it blank. Okay, I'm gonna use this font. Next you have the font weight, and with this you control how bold it looks, but I'm gonna leave it default for now. Then you have the font size, line height, and letter spacing. And the font size is for making it bigger, and the line height is for controlling the vertical distance. For example, if it takes two lines like this, with this field, you control the distance between those characters vertically. And the letter spacing controls the horizontal distance. For example, if I increment this, you'll see that I'm adding more space between them. But I'm gonna leave it at 0, this one and this one. And actually, when using 0 on any of these, font size, line height, or letter spacing, it will grab the default from your theme. Okay, so maybe if I keep it 0, it's not 0 pixels, it's just the default from your theme. And I really like that font size, so I'm gonna leave it as 0. Okay, and next you have the same settings for mobile. You have the alignment, the top and bottom margin, the font size, line height, and letter spacing. Okay, and down here we have the section class, and this is for advanced users. In case you need to share styling between sections, you can add a custom class in here without the dot to share that styling. For example, let's say that you have a class on your theme that is called red border. Okay, and if I add a custom styling here, custom CSS, and let's say that red border adds that styling, okay, you can add it using that class. Okay, and if I add the same class to that section, you see that the styling was also applied to the section. Okay, so that's for advanced users. In case you need to share the styling, you have that option. I don't really need it, so I'm gonna remove this and go back and remove the section class. Okay, and I believe this color, I prefer to change it to the same. So I'm gonna use the same one like that. Okay, that looks better for me. That's it for the section styling. And now we go to the content inside of the content area. So we have multiple options here. So you have a tab image, and you can add a custom image in here, maybe something like this. And you can also add a link to the image. So let's say you want the users to click the image to go a different page, you can add that link in here. You also have the image dimensions. You can select it to be original, portrait, square, horizontal, or vertical. Maybe square looks good. Okay, something like that. And you also have the block content width. So right now that image is 100% of the area. Okay, but if you select it to be less than that, you'll see that it doesn't expand all the way. And when this is less than 100, you can align the content inside of it. For example, by default it's center, but you can also align it to the left or to the right. Okay, but on this example, I'm gonna leave it center and the image to be 100%. Okay, then you have the top and bottom margin. So right now it's 0 at the top, but if you increment this, you're adding more room outside of it. Okay, and the same at the bottom. If you increment this, you add more room in here. But I really like it to be 0 because it's the first element, so that's fine, and maybe this to be less than that. And then down here you have the same settings for mobile. You have the width, the alignment, top and bottom margin. So that's all for the tab image. But we also have a tab title and tab text block. So if we go to the title, we can update the text, something like this. And you also have the content width, like the image. So you can make it smaller and align it to the left or to the right. For me, 100% looks fine, so I'm gonna leave it like that. And you also have the top and bottom margins, okay? So you can control that outside distance, okay? You have the same settings for mobile, width, alignment, top and bottom margin, and then you have the text styling, so you can select custom color, something like this, okay? And you have all the same options. You have the custom font weight, font size, line height, and letter spacing. And you have the same for mobile, font size, line height, and letter spacing. And then you also have a text block. So this is similar to the title, okay? So you can edit this. You have the content width, alignment, top and bottom margin, the same for mobile, and the text styling options. Or maybe instead of this, we can have it like a light gray, and we reduce the margin, okay? And you have the option for custom font weight, font size, line height, and letter spacing. And you also have the same for mobile. And all these blocks, you can rearrange them. So for example, if you want to use the title at the top, you can do it like this, okay? And if you need to add another text block, you can do it using this button to add block. Okay, and if you don't need all these elements, you can just hide them like this, or you can just delete them. I don't need this, so you have that option. And maybe the image at the top looks better. Okay, so let's go back to the section settings. Okay, and now I'm gonna disable this to see the end result. Okay, and when we click on it, this opens. So I really like how it looks, so I'm gonna save it, and that's it. Thank you again. If you have any questions or if you run into any issues, please don't hesitate to contact us via our support page on our website. Thank you and take care.